Jason Baffrey, we are live, sir.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Coach Talk TV, where we believe that coaching and coaches are an essential part of human development. You'll learn how having a guide in your own personal development can change your life, improve your relationships, and enhance your work experience. I'm Jason Baffrey. This is Rhonda Boyle. You're watching Coach Talk TV, where we have coaching conversations that matter.
Yes, we do. We are going to have an amazing conversation today with Becky Hammond. And I can't wait to get to it because it is about one of my favorite topics, Jason. The family. The family and the queen bee of the family. Who would that be? The mama.
Becky Hammond. Oh,
yeah. Today it's Becky. We will let her be the queen bee today. We're going to be talking about moms and coaching for moms and mentorship and so on for moms today, and building up of the family, which I think our world is ready for right now.
Right. Yeah. Couldn't be more important, I don't think.
I agree. Hey, by the way, everybody, we have been having an amazing time this week and last week on Coach Talk TV. This has been our Discover Coaching series, and you can find all of the videos over at our website at www.coachtalktv.
Yep, CoachTalk.tv. You can also just go to Facebook and find our page there. And that's where you can find all the shows. You can also go to our YouTube channel. We have youtube.com/c/CoachTalkTV. And if you're interested in just listening to the audio podcast, we have that available for you as well. All you have to do is go to anchor.fm and you can find it and all of the channels that it is on. But those include iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, and more and more.
Jason, we are everywhere. You would think we would be rich and famous.
Well, you'd think we'd be doing something more than what we are, but here we are.
Hey, I love what we're doing, and I love talking to coaches and having these amazing conversations. So, coaching is not really, I guess I'm thinking about the family and around parenting, and it's really kind of coming into vogue these days, would you say?
I don't know. I think there's more attention being put on it because kids have been at home over the last several months, and parents have had to reassume that responsibility of teaching their kids and getting them through the day instead of putting them in the schools. And so, I think there's some attention being focused on that. I don't know if we are yet to have it in vogue, but I do know a lot of people that are that certainly take it seriously in my circles, and not saying that homeschooling is the only way to go, but a lot of people that homeschool and a lot of different alternatives to the public education. But parenting is a tough job. You know this. We all know this. It's really hard, and it's much more than just your taxi driver, cook. Well, mostly the mom. I don't want to. That sounds bad. The moms that I know are taxi drivers, cooks, therapists, coaches, right. Athletic coaches, cheerleaders. They do it all, and moms make the world go round. So,
yes, I think so. I think this is true. And I think what I meant by that is, coming into vogue is that I think that, as you say, there's a lot of attention on families right now. A lot of parents, I think, are, because they've been around their kids a lot more here lately, that they are recognizing maybe some areas that they would like to see their relationships deepen or get better. Maybe they're recognizing their kids need academic coaching, and we certainly have coaches that handle that,
right?
That type of thing. So I guess it's more that we're starting to recognize the variety of coaching around the family and where there are many, many opportunities for coaches and for parents and families to find, the help they need, somebody to come along beside them.
Well, and I think for many parents, probably the fact that they are now spending the entire day with their child, and the child's not going to school, and they're seeing probably some different types of behavior, and being able to interact with them on a more regular basis, and realize that, there's some different things in the child's personality, and maybe, trying to understand how those things work, or how they can, maybe they need to change tact to approach them. Tack is in the sailing term, is what I meant to say there. um, to get to, because I'm a sailor, uh, trying to get to the point to understand and communicate with their children better, because they're having to do it more, and maybe they're having to change things up a little bit, and therefore they need a coach to help them
There
understand.
you go.
And if you have a family coach, somebody that specializes in that, and specializes in looking at the strengths and the talents of the children, and can help a parent recognize some things that might be um, troublesome or annoying, but are,
Stepping on your last nerve is what
yeah,
you're saying. I hear
but
you.
but if you have somebody to come in there and see you from an objective point of view, and make you realize that that's really a strength in your child, and it can change your entire perspective.
Hmm. You bet. Learning how to develop that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to introduce everybody to our guest today, because she coaches moms and helps them have better relationships within the family. So, let me tell you a little bit about her. Acclaimed by healthcare systems, Fortune 500 organizations, and by the everyday mom, Becky Hammond is a maven of growth and connection. You can make relationships easier in your family and on your team by fixating on strength. And Becky can help you break past the roadblocks to get you there. Becky Hammond, come on up and say hey to the people. There she is, coming in from Arizona today.
Right, cabin in the woods. We're still here.
I know, but you and I have known you for probably 6 or 7 years maybe.
Right.
And I can't keep up with you because you're always in a new locale.
You know what? And it's not going to stop here. So it's fun.
I understand you guys are heading out somewhere overseas soon, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Our family, my husband just took a job as a U.S. diplomat, and we will be heading to Abidjan, which is in the Ivory Coast, which is in West Africa. And 4 weeks ago, I had no idea where that was. That's why I'm so specific about that. I did know where Africa was, but that's about it.
That's so fun. Thank you for sharing all of your newfound knowledge about Africa. My geography would be absolutely needed too. So anyway, well, it's good to see you again. So listen, talking about moms and strengthening the family, help us out understand, first of all, what's the biggest challenges that are facing moms right now, because things have kind of changed recently, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, moms are in some of the toughest spots that maybe they've ever been. And I say that maybe with hesitation, because I also just feel like there's like moms around the world have been having having everyday tough moments before this age of uncertainty, before this age of what the heck am I supposed to do with all these extra variables that I have in my life? And so, yeah, I mean, moms of the world have the toughest job in the world. Whether you are a stay-at-home mom, or you are working full-time, or you're trying to, run a side hustle, moms are unique in that kids just naturally know that mom is the one that they need to go to help figure out their life. Whether they are 9 months old, like we have, or 9 years old, like we also have, or they're 20-something year old, like you have, Rhonda.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest mistake that moms make, it reminds me of the time that David we're up here, like I said, at a log cabin. We're up in the mountains. We're in the woods. There's this trail that runs up the mountain. And David and I challenge each other to say, like, okay, let's try to run this every other day. So he runs it one day, I run it on one day. And there was a bear sighting So the day after the bear sighting, David grabs a rock. He said, I'm still going on this run, but I'm going to take this rock because I know that there's going to be a bear out there. So he runs up, he runs down, and he's like twitching at every little squirrel that passes by. And his plan all along is he's going to take this rock, and if the bear comes, he's just going to throw it at it. Well, the next day, I was doing research about what I was going to do on my run the next day. And what we realized was his strategy was completely wrong. Throwing a rock at the bear was the wrong thing to do. Actually, stopping, standing your ground, and telling them to go away is actually the right thing to do. And this scenario reminded me of the plague of motherhood, which is comparison. It's the biggest mistake we make, but it's also the bear. It is always going to be there. And so we need to know exactly what types of strategies are going to work to combat that comparison. Talk about like being on stage. We are totally on stage. And even if we don't put ourselves on stage, we see other people's stages out there on Facebook and on Instagram as you're scrolling through, and you see, of course, the highlight reel of what every mother out there is doing except for you. And it can get very burdensome, very overwhelming. And in some cases with women that I've worked with, just defeating. Like this becomes their identity. I don't live up. And they don't have the tools. It's like they're walking around with a rock to throw at the bear when all along they should be standing their ground and telling it to go away. And so, when you are combating this thing that's always going to be there, comparison, with the wrong tools and the wrong information, then it really becomes a challenge for moms around the world.
Wow. I love that story. And it's so true because we all have that bear in our lives. Jason?
Yeah. So how do you begin to help moms understand that and pull away from that, especially in this day and age with, Instagram and Facebook and, like you said, you're on stage all the time. You're always looking at, and I think there's some dads that do the same thing too. We look at other dads, and they're, posting all the cool stuff they're doing with their kids. And I'm like, I'm sitting here working. I stink as a dad,
True.
So, but for moms, I can imagine that tension builds up even more because there's so many more women that are doing those types of things and posting on the social media and everything. So how do you help them overcome that?
Yeah. I think there's so many barriers, just like you're saying, like comparisons all around us. We're seeing it everywhere. Motherhood is a tough job in that you actually never really feel like you're winning. Even if you feel like I had a good day, there's still something in the back of your mind that says, but my kid could still get screwed up along the way, right? Because I'm not a perfect person and nobody is. And so we just kind of have these toxic voices, these tapes that are running through our heads. Your friends that are giving you advice based on their own wiring, your schedule where you're busy. And now we have taken that aspect out over the last few months. People are unbusy. But for the most part, though, we've managed to be quite busy with 5 kids of our own. The uncertainty right now, like that makes you, like last night I was talking to a group of moms and there was this one mom who you could just tell there was like a weight on her back. And she was sharing very vulnerably that she just feels like I can't make decisions because my kids are always interrupting me. And that's kind of what the external factors. She said, well, my kids are interrupting me, so I can't make decisions. But really what we discovered is that it's because of this weight of uncertainty that she had on her back, this like, I don't know, what tomorrow holds, and it's impossible to make decisions for the future. And then also one of the biggest barriers, Jason, is to this kind of strong mom mindset is not knowing who you really are or who you really wired to be, not knowing your strengths. It's so ingrained. I've been doing it this way for so long. I don't really know how to do it a different way, even if it doesn't really match up with the way that you're naturally wired. So the first step has to do with uncovering, digging down for that buried treasure, who is you, to figure out, okay, well, well, how am I supposed to mom as a mom? How am I going to combat comparison? You're only going to combat comparison if you know who you are and then live who you are with blinders on in some ways, to block out those external barriers that come in from comparison.
Mm-hmm. It gives you permission, don't you think, to say no?
Yes.
Well, you might say no, thank you, but
well, if you are teaching your children, like today, our 5-year-old, I mean, I swear that kid can't say please or thank you to save his life. So sometimes we'll just consider that a problem for the next day. But yes, it does give you permission to say no, or to say, it's okay that I don't do it that way. When I was first a mom, so this was probably 9.5 years ago, and I had a wonderful mom friend who was having her third baby at the same time that I was having my first. And she was just like this spontaneous, like adaptable. She like one time brought her kids. We were living in Tokyo at the time. She brought her kids on the train through the rain into my house, and she had a smile on her face still, like it was amazing. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's just do a picnic inside. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is still fine. This is still fine. And I wanted to be like that so badly. And what I realized by that later on is like, I'm just not going to be like that. I can choose to have a positive attitude for different strengths, but it's not just going to be like this go with the flow kind of, I mean, like I imagine you are, Rhonda, right? Like, hey, there is no rain that's going to, come and ruin my parade, right? Let's just reroute that parade.
I was going to say,
have fun dancing in the rain.
I don't just go with the flow. Sometimes I create it. So, it might be a torrent. You just better watch out. I don't know.
I can't imagine that, Rhonda.
The tidal wave.
Yeah, that comparison is the thief of joy. And how many times do we lose our joy? That's what happens. We absolutely lose our joy because we're not looking at the amazingness of who we are. We're comparing, and coming up lacking. But that's what they're supposed to do.
Right. No,
not
exactly.
Me.
Exactly. That's what they're supposed to do. She's supposed to say like, no big deal. Can I borrow some shorts while I throw all of our kids, clothes into the dryer? But what I realized is, well, I was the one who, had this immaculate lunch plan that we could just lay out on our floor like a picnic inside, So I was providing something valuable, but at the time I didn't see it because I was busy comparing to what she was doing.
Yeah, it's really awful that we do that to ourselves. And I think, moms are not the only ones who do that for sure.
True.
I was going to say also, as I was hearing what you were sharing, is that it doesn't matter how old your kids are. You still do that. Mine are 27 and 29.
Woo!
I know. And I am still comparing myself, like as soon as I find out somebody comes in my orbit that has a kid, my kid's age, I'm like, okay, so what are your kids doing? And what are your kids doing? It's that same thing, which is so absurd. Yes. And the good news is that even if that is our automatic reaction, it doesn't have to be our second action. We can recognize it and say, oh, hold on a minute. That's that lie again.
Yeah. And realize that you shouldn't be holding a rock, right? But that you should be figuring out like, how do I stand firm in front of this? And, how do I do my go away bear kind of thing to it?
Oh, no. You go get you a can of bear spray. I'm going to say it. You can order it from Amazon.
You know what? That's not a bad idea for this jogging situation.
I'm pretty sure it's got a 25. Ask me how I know this stuff.
I would rather not.
Yes, no, you probably don't know. Yeah. So tell us more about what else moms are dealing with right now, and just some other strategies that they might have that they may not have thought about.
Yeah. I think one of the important things to address, or to just make sure that we see the other side as moms. So like, we can talk about comparison. Everyone's like, yeah, blah, blah. I compare to the mom that's, next door or who I don't know at all. But really the result of swapping out a comparison mindset to a strong mom mindset is freedom. There is a freedom there. And so if we as moms can say, okay, I'm willing to do some uncomfortable work to get to the other side, to experience what you're calling freedom, then that just might be the motivation that we need, because we all know it. We all know about comparison, and we realize it's a trap and we don't want to do it, but how do we not, right? And so part of that is just that motivation. You're free to be who you're wired to be. You can know your triggers. You can know the source of your energy. When you talk about who you are in your most natural self is energized and ready for the moments of your day. You also will get to understand like why you might be drained. If you understand how you're naturally wired, you'll be like our friend who had the weight on her back. Like, she went on to describe that pre-COVID, she used to go out with friends every week. So she would have an evening of the week where she would go out with her friends. She would decompress, she would process and just laugh and have a good time. And what she said was, well, I used to do that. And, I don't do that anymore. And maybe that's part of it. Like, yes, that's part of it. Like, if you can identify what are those things that are draining you, what are those things that are sucking your energy, then you are closer to identifying what your strengths are and what your strengths say that you need in order to really fill you up and thrive as a mom. I mean, as a human, as a friend, as a spouse, but also especially the most draining job of all, as a mom. And so, when you identify those things, you can really make tangible differences in how you move throughout your day. And so I have a story that I can share with that if this is the good time for that.
Yes, please.
All right. Several came to my mind, and this morning, as I was thinking through our conversation today, I was just thinking, I have too many stories to share. I could share a story from every day of my life.
I love your stories.
Own experience. Thank you.
Yes.
So the other day I was feeling overwhelmed. This is not really an uncommon feeling for me because we have a lot of things going on, yada, yada, yada. So does everybody.
5 children.
5 children.
Right.
5 children, but they're lovely. They're all very lovely. Okay. They're lovely and loud and,
Sure.
they're sometimes unkind. It's so weird. And I was feeling overwhelmed. I walked back to get our 9-month-old out of bed after a nap. And I came back out to the living area and I saw disaster everywhere. It was like my mind had taken on the disaster all around me. And I said, okay, what can I do to increase my energy? I'm like talking to myself, coaching myself here, right? Like, what can I do to increase my energy? And I thought about my 5 strengths. Clifton's strengths are achiever, arranger, learner, belief, and connectedness. So that's a language that I use. It's not the only language that you have to use or that you can use to help kind of get to the other side of comparison, but it's the one that I found most helpful. And I said, okay, arranger needs a flexible order in order to really thrive. And when I looked around, I saw disorder everywhere. And so with a 9-month-old in my arms, I just kind of started like scurrying around and just kind of sorting things up and putting pillows up and on the couch and, picking up a few cars and stacking papers all in a stack that wasn't really organized, but it made me feel better. And it was like by meeting that need of my arranger strength, I was able to lift the overwhelm, like that just feeling of like, oh, what's going on? I don't really know. Like, the day's been fine. Like, what's happening? Why am I feeling drained? And when I was able to like identify and meet the need of that arranger strength, I was able to come out of that overwhelm and feel like, man, no, I actually can. I have more energy to face the rest of my day now. And so that's what I mean. Like, that's the result. That's the freedom from swapping out a comparison mindset to a strong mom mindset. Because the first thing that sets in is like, oh man, I don't know why I'm feeling overwhelmed. Like, I have nothing to be overwhelmed about. And start just like comparing to even previous versions of myself. Like, I feel like I was able to handle this better last week, let alone like, pick up my phone and my overwhelm and like scroll through my squares and realize like no one else is overwhelmed, and so, that is the freedom. That's the result from being able to really clearly identify what your strengths are, use them in that moment of drain or lack of energy to try to get yourself out of it and be able to be present for your kids. I mean, that's part of what we're going for. It's not just this feeling inside like, yay, I feel better, but like when I am energized as a mom and not drained, I am more present for my kids. I am available for them. I'm more patient. There's all sorts of things that come out of just really feeling confident and energized through the way that I'm wired.
Wow, that's so amazing that you have come to the point where you can coach yourself out of a bad mood, so to speak. And how many moms would like to have that happen? I remember one of the first times I started identifying because it usually always, you mentioned the word trigger, and my experience of that is it always has a physical effect. In other words, I feel it somewhere. I might feel it here, or I might feel it here, or my stomach might hurt, or there's something in the physiology that, kind of brings your awareness to that. And if you understand that that's where you are and you know what to do to get out of it, then that's how you do it. But the first few times you try that, I remember it was like remember the Charlie Brown teacher, wah, wah, wah. Yes. I remember the first time I was experiencing that, my gosh, this is what she was talking about. My coach, this is what that is. I'm hearing, wah, wah, the person on the other end. And I had to ask them to repeat themselves because I did not hear a word they said.
Yep.
So, but you know what? The benefit of that is I knew where I was. And then the next time it came around, that wah, wah, wah wasn't there anymore. Yeah. I could actually process it. So that's the freedom you keep saying.
Yeah, that's the freedom. I mean, and I think what you're, one of the things that you're so wonderfully saying is a practice that I talk to moms about is just the first part is practicing noticing. Practice noticing how you feel in a certain situation, and I'm not saying just drained, like when you feel energized. I love Clifton Strengths, but even if you don't have that, like practice noticing when you feel drained, when you feel energized, what's the difference and what happened? And what was the impact on your role as a mom, as momming, as I call it? What's the impact on your momming? So that
I love that.
Yeah, it's the first start. It's the intro level. It's the like, hey, if there's nothing else, try this. Practice noticing.
Yeah. And that's where it starts because that's the self-awareness.
Yeah, true.
So Becky, I'm just curious. I mean, because I picked up on the practice noticing portion there, but do you recommend moms like journaling that and trying to develop a pattern or see a pattern or do anything like that? I mean, do you have some like kind of hard skills there that the moms that are watching can start utilizing to implement all of that?
I'll write that one down. I think it really depends on your strengths. If you can imagine, I would say that. Like some people, journaling makes a lot of sense, and to see something written out and see a pattern makes the most sense to them. For some moms, that feels like an extra thing. And so one of the things that I try very hard to do is not put my lens on what they do, because for me, that would be a great idea. Like I said, I'm writing that one down. But for other people, I might give it as a suggestion for sure. Like, okay, let's see where you find patterns. In terms of next steps, practically speaking, I of course recommend taking StrengthsFinder. I have a program, an email coaching program, super easy, called Strengths Startup. Really low cost, just way to kind of understand like your strengths and what coaching kind of feels like. But if you don't want to do that right now, or if you're like, I don't want to pay any money for anything, like ask the people who are closest to you to reflect back to you. You know, I like to think about our strengths as our face. And except for when you're on a video call, you don't actually ever see your face throughout the day unless you look in a mirror. All right. So you walk around with it all the time, but you don't see it. But other people, they see your face all day. And so they can reflect back to you what your strengths are and what they might be. So that would be like the practical first step that I would recommend is talk to the two people, pick them, two people. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's a best friend, maybe it's somebody that you work with every day, and ask them, what is the things that you feel like I do well? And you don't even need to say as a mom. Just say, what do I do well? Because sometimes I feel like we don't do a great job of translating the things that we naturally do well to our roles as mom. In my groups, my strong mom coaching groups, I hear a lot of moms say, well, I can see that in my role as, spouse, or I can see that in my role as employee or as business owner, but I can't see it. Like, how do I use that in my role as a mom? So just in general, have them reflect back to you. What is it that you think that I do exceptionally well? And that's a good place to start.
Do you think that the moms that you work with, I mean, you'd be able to speak to this, do they discount themselves as moms in that role? I mean, do they discount that role in their life?
I think the first way you ask the question is more true than the second. I think that they do not discount the importance of it. I think most of them, especially if they are joining a group like a Strong Mom group, they are saying, this is important to me, and I don't feel like I'm doing awesome at it. And most women have said, I feel like I've done awesome in other things, and this is feeling frustrating to me, or this is feeling not as fulfilling to me. So I think that they don't discount it in terms of its importance in their own lives. But they do tend to discount their strengths as being valuable or important or essential, or the things that their kids need. They say, well, yeah, I see how I can use that in other ways, but I don't really see how I can use it with my kids. And so in that way, I would say that's, a very good observation, Jason, that they do discount their own strengths to be able to do their job that they do value very highly.
It's that comparison thing again.
Yes, exactly. We come full circle back to the bear.
Full circle back to the bear, right? Yeah, I agree. Because it's like you said at the beginning, that bear is always there.
Always there. It's going to be there. Like you said, Ron, I mean, I love that example of I find moms of kids who's in their 20s. I want to know what their kids are doing and what they're doing with their kids and with their grandkids. And it's just going to be there, right? It's always going to be there. But if we have the right tools, right resources, if we know how to, rhetorically speaking, stand firm in front of the bear, then we're going to be much better off as moms. We're going to enjoy our role. We're going to have more energy, and we're going to experience that freedom that we've been talking about.
Fantastic. And we would want that for every family, for every mom, to be able to stand and know that she's that she's gifted and wired exactly what is needed for her own children.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I don't think she knows it all the time, though, right?
She sometimes doubts that. Yes.
All right. Wow. Becky, I have popped some links in the chat box, but I want to know, I think you mentioned a group. Do you want us to point people there? Would love to make sure our audience gets connected to you.
Yes. We are running Strong Mom group coaching programs over at isogostrong.com/strongmom. Go figure. Hopefully that link works. Let's just make sure. Well, I'll make sure later. strong.com/strongmom. And if not, just go to isogostrong.com and you'll find the family on there. And that is where you can request to kind of have more information. If you're kind of like, you know what, I just want to figure out, like, what do you mean by understand your strengths? There's a tool that I just recently revamped. It's an email coaching program, and it's only $24. It gives you your top 5 strengths, and I promise engagement and interaction with you. It's called Strengths Startup. So that's isogostrong.com/strengths, plural, startup. That's a lot of S's. Strengths Startup.
I love it. Well, I'm putting those in the comment section, and gosh, we sure want people to reach out to you. You are a fantastic coach. I've known you for a long time. Yep. And so exciting to see you working with families and with, moms, because you are one. And isn't it interesting that we always wind up coaching exactly where, we're meant to be, and that
Right.
tends to kind of, go with us wherever we are. So
it really does.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Becky. We'll see you in the green room later.
All right. Thanks so much, Rhonda. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for the opportunity to chat, and look forward to maybe doing it again sometime down the road.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, we had some echoing going on there with you, sir.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. First world problem.
Hashtag first world problems, folks. Well, listen, thanks for joining us on our Discover Coaching series. We will be back tomorrow and the rest of the week right here on Coach Talk TV.
You can find all the previous shows of our Discover Coaching series, not only our July edition here, but our previous editions. If you go to coachtalk.tv, you can also just, if you're on Facebook, go to the Facebook page. Check out our YouTube channel. Just search for Coach Talk TV. Give us a subscribe. Ring the little bell to get notified when the new shows come out. And you can find our podcast. Go to anchor.fm and Coach Talk TV. You can find it, or just search for Coach Talk TV on your favorite podcasting outlet. iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a whole lot more. You can find us all over the place.
We are everywhere.
All right. So we got a couple more days here of this week's Discover Coaching series. Make sure you join us tomorrow. We have, what is today? I don't even know what day today is. Today, Tuesday or
Tuesday.
Wednesday? All right. So we've got 3 more days this week. Wow. So some great shows coming up. Make sure you pay attention to what's going on there. And for Rhonda Boyle, I'm Jason Baffrey. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And we appreciate our guest, Becky Hammond, today. And you guys have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.